Excited about this one?
Not yes and no, because it's been a long time
Since what?
since our love story started.
Where did we leave off? Part 1.
We left off part 1 on the floor after we got married and moved into our house in Boston.
Did our sofa even come yet in part 1?
I think our sofa was coming.
So start at the sofa. That's where you start.
All right, before we start, let's just say hi to our friends.
Oh.
Welcome back to another episode of Sheena Interrupted.
Where we talk about sofas
Where we
and
talk
the
about-
love that you can have for them.
What? Wait, what?
Nothing.
It's not that kind of episode.
No.
Okay.
What? I just said we loved our sofa.
Yes, we did.
The sofa I'm sitting on now
Yes, actually.
is the longest
This is the
Boston possession you have.
Yeah, it's the last piece we have of our Boston sofa.
Original.
Our original
Our
sofa.
love sofa. What? It was a love seat.
Getting hot in here.
Because you're dressed like Mr. Rogers today.
I like my sweater.
I know.
It's a nice sweater.
But it's warm.
It is warm. So anyway, welcome back. We are here with the next part of our love story. If you have been here for a little while, you know that we did early on, we did our
episode
love
3.
story. Yeah, it was like episode 3 or 4. We did our love story. But our love story basically ended after...
I don't think we were even married. You weren't even in love with me, you've admitted, at the end of our love story
Oh,
episode.
God, are we
You were
still
still trying to
back
figure
there?
out who you loved, how that works, all
So
these things.
folks wanted to know, like, that was just the beginning of our love story, but how did we actually, like, what happened? They wanted to know about our wedding. They wanted to know about the
Oh, we skipped
move
the
to
wedding.
We skipped the wedding. We didn't even talk about the wedding.
So we need a separate flashback for the wedding. It's like those good movies. They never go in order.
Oh,
You have
yeah.
to jump back and forth. Not mismatched. It's just
Yeah.
purposeful.
So today we're talking about part 2 of our love story.
Where are we in the story?
In the story, if you want to go back and listen to part 1 was all about how we fell in love, how our families met, how we met each other.
Oh, yeah,
and
that was
then
the phone book episode.
It was the phone book episode. We talked about how our families became friendly and how you moved to Canada and all that jazz. And then
so now we're in Boston.
Yes.
This is the America version of our story.
Yes. When we had moved, we got married in June, and then we moved to Boston in August, and you started your job in September. We
Yep.
moved like probably 2 days before you started your, no, a week before
A
you
week.
started. A week before you started your job, and we had an empty apartment.
Yes.
And we talked about our first night in that empty apartment
No, we didn't.
on the
Did we?
on the
The
floor. Yes, on the floor.
Wait,
of
what
our
are you talking about? On the floor. The pizza.
pizza.
Yeah, the sofa came the next day. We slept on the floor. Did we have sleeping bags?
We had pillows. We had
Whatever we brought in the
sheets,
car.
like comforters.
And pillow sheets, because pillows without pillow sheets is disgusting.
Why do you call them pillow sheets?
They're sheets for the pillow.
They're pillowcases.
They're not cases. They're not secure. They're just sheets.
They're pillowcases.
Are
Everybody
they
calls
bed sheets or bed cases?
bed sheets.
Why?
I don't know.
You cover your mattress in it. It's not a mattress case. It's a bed sheet. So it's a pillow sheet.
Listen, I didn't make up the names.
I'm
the
just
names
telling
were
you.
already there.
Yeah,
It's
so
a
someone
pillowcase.
made a
It's not
mistake. We're
pillow
helping
sheet.
them.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're confusing them.
Fine. So then I want
Pillowcase, mattress,
case.
no, sheet.
It's either mattress case. If you want to call it a bed sheet, it's a pillow sheet.
It's
If you
a
want to
bed
call it a
sheet.
bed case, it can be a pillowcase.
No.
They serve the same function. They
No, they-
cover something I use to
No,
put
they
my
go.
body
They
on.
encase the entire pillow,
So
so it's called a pillowcase.
I just want a pillow sheet then. Cut the bottom half. I
Then
don't
the
need
whole
it.
thing will keep
No,
falling
put
off.
elastic like the mattress.
All right, you heard it here. New idea, folks.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the floor of our apartment.
The floor of our apartment was where we spent our first night in our apartment, and we had ordered pizza.
Why are you smirking?
Because it was such a nice night. We ordered pizza. It was very simple. Like, we didn't have a ton of funds left after our wedding. You were starting your job in a few weeks. The money had not yet started coming in from that job. And we just sat on the floor.
Is
of
that where we are now in our lives?
What?
We were reminiscing about being poor.
No, I'm
That's
just...
such a privilege. I like that.
It is a
I
privilege.
remember those days.
But I remember
I don't
just
miss
feeling...
those days. I enjoyed them.
Yes,
But I
but
don't
I
miss the
loved
fact.
those days.
I would have loved them too if I had a few more dollars in my account.
Of course.
I had to get someone to co-sign for the sofa.
It's
I already
true.
talked about this. I'm still shocked by the fact that I had to ask someone to buy a sofa.
Yeah, but he was a nice guy. He did it for us.
Yeah, that's why I have to keep this.
Thank you,
Collateral.
Ryan.
I still have to give this back to him one day if I ever get chased down by Jordans for my
No, I think we're done paying
$1,000
off our
sofa.
sofa. We're done.
So then, where did the love blossom in those days? I've heard about this. This is not what people are expecting.
No.
I go off to work. What do? You
So-
you run around the house like in Bollywood movies, excited about your luck, having found such a stellar human to spend your life with.
No.
That's what I was imagining while I was slogging at the office.
No.
What were you doing?
When I was looking back at like pictures and when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about during this episode, what I realized was that I was almost like I was living two different lives. I was living this one amazing portion of my life when you would come home from 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
I'd give you my briefcase.
No.
You'd have your apron on.
We'd
We'd be
hang
baking
out,
cookies.
We'd hang out from like 8 p.m. to midnight, and then we'd like sleep in the morning till whatever.
6:30.
No, you would go to work a little bit like at 8:30,
Yeah.
and then I'd race you to the train, and I'd come back, and I'd go back to sleep.
Oh, those were the
Most
sleeping
mornings.
years. Yeah, the cat years.
Yeah, and then I would get up around like noon
My God. I didn't know any of this.
because
till you
there was
told me
nothing
years
else
later.
for me to do because I couldn't work here.
But so what?
So I didn't have much drive, and we didn't have a piano, so I couldn't write much. And I was really lonely. I remember calling my mom and dad every day at like 3:30 or 4. I would make myself a cup of tea, and I would just chat with them for an hour because that was what passed the time. And it was wonderful.
This is a sad story you're
No,
telling today.
it wasn't. It's not a sad story. But I realized along the way, like that, I was living almost like two different lives. And the one part of it was just loving being married. And the other part was not really knowing what my purpose was, who I was, what I wanted to do for my work. It was like this juxtaposition of two completely different things. And one was so stagnant and one was ever blooming.
Were you going to the gym then?
I wasn't initially. And then we talked about ways
the
that
hot
I
yoga
could.
years? What
Yeah.
was the-
We talked
yeah.
about ways that I could engage in this community. And so I started going to hot yoga and I started going to the gym.
Can I tell a quick story about hot yoga?
Sure.
And why you stopped?
Sure.
I'm sure it will resonate with some people.
Sure.
But the logic just is not there.
It's not logicking.
So you go to hot yoga,
Yeah.
they crank up the heat in the summer to like 90 degrees,
Yeah.
which is 30 some degrees Celsius,
Yeah.
I think. It's hot.
It's hot.
And then, and I think it was either was an all women's class or primarily women
It was
in
like
the
at
class you
at
went
the
to.
community center.
Okay, so Sheena goes to these things, and then 1 out of 3 times she doesn't finish the class. So then she'd come home and be like, oh, I went to class. I'm like, how was it? Oh, I don't really know. What do you mean you don't know? Oh, I fainted. Like, wait, what do you mean you fainted? It's like, oh yeah, I got really hot. So I just laid on the floor while they were doing the class because I was going to either faint or I thought maybe I fainted. So I'm like, wait, why do you keep going?
Because
because
it's so
hot
good.
yoga, it's so good. Yeah. That's it. That's the story. That's all. Leave a comment if this matches with your sense of logic.
I didn't realize that my blood
Wake
pressure
up, everyone was gone. You didn't realize
That
people are playing
happened once.
volleyball. Like you're
happened only
still laying
once.
in the gym. These people are playing volleyball.
The teacher was like rubbing my back, like, "Are you okay?"
Are you okay? It's like, no, I faint every week. Friggin' don't allow me in this class.
Yeah, hot yoga is hard.
How do you know? You've never completed a class. You just went and slept in the middle of a sauna. So don't do hot yoga if you pass out. I'm not a physician, but that seems like sound advice to share.
Actually, when I was doing classes at the community center, it wasn't hot yoga. It was only
It was
later.
just hot because they didn't have AC. This is before she paid for a gym membership.
It's true.
So in the summer it was hot yoga, in the winter it was cold yoga.
It's true.
Spring and fall it was just yoga.
It's very true. But somewhere along the way, like you and I found these little pockets of time to just like be and grow. And I feel when I was looking back at these pictures, like we've had such a nice, beautiful, rounded life.
What, are we done?
No, we're not done.
So what chapter are we on?
Whatever this chapter that I'm talking about, chapter 2, there were just such
fainting
simple
years.
moments. They were such, I remember sitting on the couch and watching The Office till midnight with you.
The thing about The Office,
Yeah.
and I was talking about this just the other day to our friends. You know, our friends have that tiny podcast.
Yeah. Really small.
Yeah, small podcast,
Yeah.
Morbid. You may have heard of it. It's okay if you haven't. They only have like
Like a bajillion
50 million
followers.
listeners. But I was talking to them about
Everybody knows Morbid.
yeah, I was talking to them about TV shows, and The Office came up,
Yeah.
and I find The Office hilarious. You find it hilarious.
I didn't
but
in the beginning,
exactly.
remember?
That's what this will be no surprise to you. It was Ash who was saying, "Oh, I just don't get it."
Yeah.
I said, "You have to watch the
Ash
first
and I
season.
are like kindred
You
spirits.
you have to watch the first season.
Yes.
It's maybe 6 episodes. The
Yes.
first season, it's very short. You have to just get through it. But once you get through it, you've earned your Office badge.
Yes,
And,
and
then
then
you're
it's
then you're
hilarious.
laughing from then on.
I would hear you laughing while I was like doing something in the other room or whatever it is. And you'd be like, just come watch. And
Yeah.
I'd try every night and I would just hate it.
Those were the Ali G years.
Oh my God.
This is
it's
the
true.
Office years. Those
like
were
this was how we fell in love, just over bonding.
I was already in love. This is the biggest sham that I've learned now, so many years later, that we're, I don't know, episode 7 of our love story, you'll say, and that's when we fell in love, when we had 2 children, a mortgage, we started a podcast, he got me views, he put a cartoon face to support
No.
me. That's when I knew.
This was before anybody was watching us. This was before anybody knew who we were.
Yeah, we were watching
We were watching Ali G.
Ali
and
G.
What was
In
that?
It.
In It. What was that other show that you made me watch that was so dumb? Jackass.
Jackass, yeah. These are the Jackass years. So there's 2 things that mark that
Yeah.
era for me.
Okay.
One was the way we purchased our first car.
Yes.
And 2 was the way my cousin showed up to live with us for a few months. Because this is what you do when you're married and young. So which order do we take those in?
The
I
cousin,
think he came
first.
before the car
he came
even
right
was there.
after the sofa.
Yeah, my cousin was delivered before my clothes even showed up.
It's true.
So
he
my
helped us
cousin,
unpack.
yeah, my cousin is my age, and he was studying for the whatever the med school
Medical,
exam
yeah.
testing is, and he could not just focus at home. And we all know this feeling, right? You have to study, you want to change your environment, take away all the distractions.
Yeah.
So we were talking, and at some point he says, I don't know how it even came up, but he said, I need to get out of here.
He said, I wish I was starting in a new place or something
Oh, maybe.
like
I
that.
can't remember. It was so long ago, but I remember we had this conversation, and I said, coming to Montreal doesn't help you because
Yeah.
there's so many people. But he was going to be studying for like 2-3 months,
Mm-hmm.
and we were moving to Boston weeks after that.
Yep.
So it's so funny. Like, I remember telling you, and he had come and stayed with us in Montreal before. So this is like one of my very, very close cousins. And I remember that conversation sort of going to, oh, wait, you should come hang with me and Sheena in Boston. Like, this was the week after we moved to our first house together.
In
It's
the
like,
first
this
week,
is
not
our-
even
this
not
is
even a week
our
after.
Romantic. We're just married. Here's our first apartment. So we got married in June.
Yeah.
And then in July, we went on our honeymoon.
Yeah.
We went on our actual honeymoon, meaning the one that was the first trip after we got married. But Sheena said, I don't know when you said this, but at some point you said this and it stuck in my head.
Okay.
I remember we were talking before we were married about honeymoons. And I remember you saying, I want to go to one of those huts on
Yeah.
the water.
Yeah, that
I
was
don't
my
know
big
where
dream back then.
Yeah, I don't know where we saw it or whatnot. And I'm like, a hut on the water. And, you all have that image of the overhead. You have the hut, and then it's just all like in the ocean. But then when we got married,
We realized how much those
we had
huts
no
cost.
money for any of that.
Yeah.
So I remember telling Sheena, give me 10 years
Yeah.
and I'll take you to a hut on the water.
Yeah.
So this was our first honeymoon. And the hut on the water, I don't know if we'll get there in this episode or not.
Probably not.
I remember saying, okay, let's go on this honeymoon. And it's funny, you do all these things and then you look back and you realize what motivates you and what the thread was.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother, who was alive at the time, was very, very fond of me.
Mm-hmm.
I am the only son of an only son.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the youngest sibling.
Mm-hmm.
And this is coming from an old mentality generation of like, oh, you
My
need to have
son,
a boy.
You need to have the name carried
Right.
on.
So she had 5
Daughters.
amazing daughters and then a son.
Yeah.
The son has one son, which is me.
Yeah.
So I am the only son of the only son. So I'm like her favorite.
And I was her favorite because of it.
Because of the link.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time she met me? I made her a cup of tea and she told everybody in the family, this is the girl that I want my grandson to marry.
So she was in Central America at the time and she was sick. And ultimately she could not attend our wedding, which was devastating for her.
Yeah.
So as part of our honeymoon, we said, we'll go to Belize. Such a like nice place. So, and I don't know, you were like 14 years old when we got married.
Don't tell people
So
that.
I had to take her to Disneyland. So we went to Disney World. We went to Belize.
I was not 14.
And then we went to...
For the record, I was
I know,
not
I had to
14.
get like a signed permission slip to take you, like when you go to school. So yeah, so we had Disney in Orlando. Then we did Belize. And then we did like Riviera Maya and Cancun, I guess. Somewhere in Mexico.
Yeah.
But because of the way this worked.
Honestly, it was not about where we were going. It was about really, that was the thing that was driving it.
But why did I go back this way? Who showed up? Who was in Orlando?
Oh, your cousin.
My cousin. So the first leg of our honeymoon.
He was with us.
This is a budget honeymoon. So we went and we stayed in his apartment because he was
He's like, oh, you guys are there. I'll come say hello.
No, he was there. So he's like, oh, you guys are going? You should come. And so we said, sure. So we went and stayed in his apartment for our Orlando.
Yeah, because it's expensive to stay on property for Disney.
And then we went to Belize and we saw my grandmother. We actually took our wedding outfits and we put them on so she could sort of experience that moment.
Yes.
And then to save money, we actually were driven to Mexico from Belize. We didn't even fly.
Yeah. And we stayed like 3 nights.
Yeah. And then we, then we came back to
Boston. No, Montreal.
So the reason I shared that part of the story is
he was
because
involved
he was
right
there.
from
He
the
was
beginning.
right there. He was there saying, "Oh, I'll drive you to Disney and this and that."
What are you talking about? He was a tree at
He
our
was a
wedding.
tree at our wedding. Yeah.
That's a story for another day. But
And then the other part of this, so we go to our honeymoon, which was in July. So that was our little honeymoon. June we get married. July we go on the honeymoon. August we moved to Boston. And September I started. So for that interim period, you were living at home. I was living at home before we got married.
yeah.
And then we get married, and then you were living with me at my house
Yeah.
with my parents. But we weren't going to stay in my like childhood bedroom with the single bed and the trophies. So we're like, okay, we need to figure out a way for us to stay for that month. And we had renovated the basement to put a bed and everything in there. So you and I said, hey, this is great. What's going to be one of our first purchases as a married couple? We went and we said, we want to get a nice mattress.
Yep.
King size mattress. Nobody in my house had a king size mattress. So we're like, we're going to get a king size mattress. We went and we bought the mattress, came through the garage, brought the mattress, but they couldn't get it down the stairs to go into the basement room.
Yeah.
So what did we do?
We slept in the living room.
Den. We locked the door upstairs. We put the mattress and we slept in the den. That was our room. We converted the den into our bedroom.
Yeah.
Who does this stuff? This is
honestly,
so... I'm hearing myself say
I
this,
know
and it
it.
sounds insane.
It sounds insane for me too. Like, which daughter-in-law would agree to do that nowadays?
amazing.
Like, I'm
We
just gonna
opened
go
the door-
live in not your parents' house, but in
No,
their
in the
den.
We slept in the den because we couldn't get the mattress to fit in the basement room where we had our stuff.
Yes.
It was very short-lived.
Yes.
It was a month.
Yes.
And
I was too young to know any better.
No, it was... I think we're coming back to that sort of thinking.
Yes.
I think you sort of go through this phase of building up who you think you are and what you think you deserve.
Yeah.
And then you come full circle to life will life and
it depends,
enjoy
I
the
think,
ride.
It depends also, I think, how old you are when you get married. Because if you're a little bit older, then those thoughts have already started solidifying.
Yeah.
Right? When you're so young, like people ask me, did you plan your wedding? Was it amazing? I didn't actually plan our wedding. My parents planned our wedding because I was finishing school. I didn't have the time or even the interest in doing any of that. I was very, very young.
We'll do the wedding episode
Absolutely,
separate.
we
Yeah,
can do
that's
the wedding,
a whole
but
story.
it's the point of this is to say, like,
Yeah,
I had
today
not
a lot
really
of people-
solidified those thoughts of this is what I deserve or this is what I need or this is what I want.
Yeah.
I didn't know, so it was easy for us because neither of us really cared about those things yet, and so we just kind of went with the flow.
Yeah.
And then over the course of our, the next few years, we figured out what we
Yeah.
wanted. And like you're saying now, we are kind of going a little bit backwards now to just be a little bit more accommodating.
Well, tell the part about how we decided what furniture we would take to Boston. Because that's one of the best stories.
Well,
Because my parents...
I didn't
so
want
this
to take
house
any
we were
of
in-
it.
Yeah, so the house we were in was a house I grew up in, and we were moving in September, and my parents were moving shortly after that also.
And we had no money.
Yeah. That part we've made clear.
And
So they would sell everything,
Yeah,
essentially. And
exactly.
we were moving to a new apartment that was not furnished. So we were trying to figure out,
Yeah.
okay, is there a way to use any of this while we're figuring things out or not?
Yeah. Yeah. And so we walked through the house and his mom kept saying, you should take whatever you want, take whatever you need. And I said, okay, I'll take whatever I need. And then we'll, figure things out along the way. And it was basics, plates and cutlery and glasses and all those things. I said, okay, let's just take those. And there were decorative pieces that every time she would point to them, and if she had some affinity for that item, she would say, oh, do you want to take this with these big excited eyes? Do you want to take this? This is really good. And I would look at you and I would say, no quiero.
Yeah. Sheena thought, no quiero. The quiero would throw off English speakers by what her intention was. And the best part is my mom speaks broken Spanish, which Sheena
She
found
was
out
like,
that day.
Sí, quiero, sí.
That was funny. But we did take a dining table. We took
Yeah.
bedroom sets. Like,
We took
reluctantly,
basics. Yeah.
Sheena agreed to take these things, which translated into apartment that was sort of a hodgepodge of things. Like many apartments,
Yeah.
honestly, when you get your first apartment, you move pieces in
Yeah.
and you're trying to make it all work. But that was funny where we took all these things and the company I was working for was going to move all of this.
Yeah.
But it needed 3-4 days to get there.
Yeah. The thing that stands out with those first few years or those first few months is we just made it work. Like whatever it was, and it didn't matter. It wasn't like either of us was pissed off or irritated because we didn't have enough pillows or we didn't have the right color bed sheets or we didn't have the towels that I liked
You mean
or
bed covers?
sheets,
Okay.
bed sheets and pillowcases. And it didn't matter if our mismatched plates and cups had cracks in them. Like it didn't matter because we were just so excited to start this new chapter of our lives with your cousin.
Again, I don't think it matters as much now
I
as
think
it
to
did
some
for a
people
period
it
of time.
does.
No, I mean for us.
Oh, for us.
Yeah. Like the cups and the plates and things like that. they become mismatched over time when you have kids, and they still use some
But so
plastic
many
stuff.
people get married and they have registries, and so they start their lives in
Right.
their new homes with this beautiful registry of
Right.
of furnishings, and we just didn't go that route. We didn't have gifts at our wedding, and we didn't do we're gonna set everything up perfectly. We just kind of pieced it all together.
So let's go back to our apartment.
So we moved in. We
September.
had one night by ourselves.
Yeah.
Your cousin came
And
the next
he
day.
came the next day, really? He helped us unpack. I can't even remember this. So this is hilarious because at that point,
But let me
I
just
do
say, like, I adore this cousin.
oh yeah, why no? Who in their right mind
Well,
would even agree to go if they didn't
this
feel
is-
that comfort?
This is true.
But the best part was you driving both of us like two schoolboys in the morning,
Yeah, I
dropping
would
me
drop
to the
you to
train
the
and
train
drop
and-
him to the library. Like, okay, boys, here's your lunch. You go to work, you go study. I'll pick you up at 5.
And I didn't know how to cook. He taught me how to cook.
Oh, did he?
A lot of things. Like, your mom gave me a crash course.
Yeah.
But there were so many things that he taught me because he'd be home for lunch every day.
Oh, he came home for lunch. It's hilarious.
So actually, I have to say he was
So it actually helped you in a way.
he was really helpful in some ways because I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
So I would have this like
So if we ever move, we have to book him
Yeah.
to come help us unpack
yeah,
and put the house together.
absolutely.
But he's afraid of atmosphere now.
Yeah, he's
He's
afraid,
afraid of the
everything.
air. He's changed.
Come visit us. We need to
Leave
make
your
some
house.
changes.
This whole episode, we still haven't. The couch hasn't been delivered. You've done a full flashback episode.
I think that what was I go back to what is it that
That
really
matters?
solidified and what is it that really mattered to us?
Well, there
It
was a breaking moment
What?
when you said, "I don't think this tastes good. What should we do?"
You told me to throw it out.
Because you said it doesn't taste good. What to do? I said, "Okay, I don't know. You don't want to eat it. We have to throw it."
You said to throw out my meal.
Because you said it doesn't taste good. Listen to this, people. If someone made a meal and they tell you themselves it doesn't taste good,
Don't
just
say
shut up and eat it. Put salt, put vinegar, put sugar, put whatever, and just be like, oh, just needs a little bit of pizza. Put a pizza in it and just eat it and shut your mouth. Because for decades you'll be reminded that once in your life
we didn't
you
talk.
threw away a meal.
I like threw it out and I went to bed.
And you didn't understand. No, you didn't, because we've talked about this.
I
Only
was so
once
mad
have
at
you
you.
gone to bed without eating for any of us, and that was like 2 months ago. So even that day you were steaming, and you must have
I
like
was
put bread and
really
cheese
mad
and be
at
like,
you.
eat this.
No, I
Threw
don't
it on the vent
think I
and
made you dinner that night.
I think we ate this.
No, I
We
threw
must
it
have
out.
we must have eaten a little, and we're like, yeah, you're like, this sucks. I'm like, yeah, it sucks. What do we do? I don't know, chuck it. And you threw it, and then we all went to bed a little hungry.
Yeah.
But my cousin made me a sandwich that night. It was good. He was just watching. What's gonna happen? No, he was gone by then.
No, I don't think.
I think he was gone. Otherwise, we would have never let you make
He
it so
was
bad.
with us for a really long
No, it was a couple of months,
like 3 months.
2-3 months. Yeah, then we cried when he left.
Yeah.
He did his.
So I
test
think
and
that
he
one of
took
the
off.
things that has this common thread that has really come through our lives is that our family loves to come visit us.
Yeah,
And
we're
I
the
love
open
that.
door.
Yes.
I grew up that way.
Yes. So did
And,
I.
Yeah, I
And
think
I love
both of
that
our
about our
families grew up with a very
Open door
welcoming,
policy.
like, you're welcome to be here. Come,
Yeah.
feel comfortable, and we've both
Come for a week, come for a month,
come for 3 months. Grab a room, grab a knife, open a box,
Cook for
set
us.
yourself up. So yeah, we've carried that through.
Yeah. And that's really been a very, very important part of our love, because I think that we love each other more when we see our interactions with our families. We feed off of that. We feed off of, I love seeing your interactions with my family members, and I think you truly love seeing my interactions with your family members. And in this day and age where people are so busy and people are so, including us, where they're so focused on the projects that they have going on, it's really, really nice when you can just stop and be reminded of what's really important, and that's family.
Yeah. That's why I said the thing about feeling a little bit like the curve is changing again, because when you reach that point, so for us, it was, now you have this, that it was actually, I'm jumping forward to when we bought this house. Now you have worked for some time, you've saved up, you put this down payment, you buy a house. Now every little scratch, every little nick, every little, dent, you feel it differently because you feel like you've worked hard to get this thing. And then we had children, and now you're faced with these two competing views where you have this house that you've worked so hard to keep in its, best state. And then you have these kids who are just living.
Everything is a memory.
Yeah,
now.
and they're living and they're walking and they're falling and they're dropping things. And you realize none of that's intentional. And frankly, it doesn't matter if that happens. So I feel like we're there more now in our lives.
Yeah.
I wish people listening can digest that, because it's one of these things that you appreciate in due course.
But I also think that people have to live those things themselves. It's like when you have a new kid and you want everything brand new versus the second time around, you're okay taking your sister-in-law's this or your brother's this
or your
whatever.
older siblings
or
this
your older
that.
siblings this
Zara
or that.
wears more blue than anyone would have imagined for
And she loves it.
Yeah.
But the second time around, you're so much more open and willing because you've gone through the experience. So this is, I think, very similar. You have to move through it
Yeah.
to really, truly understand and appreciate it.
Sometimes hearing it from other people, though, helps.
Yeah.
Right? When you hear it from people close to you, it feels like they're trying to tell you something or force you to behave in a certain way. I think maybe if you hear it from somebody else that has no skin in the game, so to speak, so you're listening to this podcast and two people who, like, you're actually sitting here listening, right? So if we're sharing it with you, we don't know your scenario.
Yeah. This is not a judgment.
Yeah, it's not a judgment or anything. It's just
free thinking thought.
Yeah. Don't worry so much about those things.
Yeah.
They're just not that significant.
Yeah.
And if you take that and you digest that and you actually own that, you'll free up so much more of your time and energy for other things that do matter.
Yeah.
We did a crazy thing last weekend. All of a sudden, we thought we were like patchandpaint.com. Our TV broke, so we bought a new TV. And
that I don't even know where that
I don't know either.
activity
It was crazy.
came from.
We bought a new TV, and the TV sizing is different.
Yeah.
So when you go to mount it on the wall, the holes, not even for the TV, because that's kind of the same, but the sound bar was way out of whack.
Yeah.
So we needed to patch the sound bar hole.
Yeah.
So of course, that's like the main wall. I called our friend who's a contractor. I'm like, hey, you have to come do this, otherwise it'll look shoddy. And then of course I'm watching and I'm like, oh, I could have done this. This is not that hard to do.
Yeah.
Then we looked around the house and there's all these other things. There used to be a thing hanging here, that this thing's been nicked. So we had all this stuff. So we started
spent 6 hours
just patching
and painting
yeah,
our
so we
house.
patched all these things. Now we're like, wait, we have all these patches all over the house. Now we have to paint them.
Yeah.
So then you go into that corner of your basement with like where old paint goes to die.
Yeah.
And we had to find all the relevant paints.
Yeah.
And then we just started painting everything. And we thought we were experts.
But can I stop you for a second?
Oh
and
God,
say,
don't tell them how it looks now.
No,
when
it's
you
fine. It looks fine.
Until you look to the wall like this on the side, you can see all the patches.
There was a moment in my mind where I was like, geez, is this what we're going to spend Saturday doing?
Yeah. You said it.
I don't think
Remember
I said
a couple
it.
of times you were like,
I didn't say it out loud. I did not say it out loud. I may have said it
like
with my eyes.
I don't want to do this anymore or something.
But
and I told you, don't do it.
I actually look back at that day now and I think, wow, what a nice thing we got to do together.
With all of these things, you can either complain and live in the moment that's frustrating, or you could look ahead to what you are about to have, like what you are about to accomplish.
Clean walls.
Clean walls, no more holes. You've been looking at that stupid hole for 3 months since you changed the, the art or whatever.
Yeah.
And that helps me when I think about it from the context of
Totally.
this is what I want. And you can either hire someone to do it, which is not possible for many people just because of the cost.
Yeah.
But even if you do hire somebody to do it, something that is absolutely missing from that situation is that sense of accomplishment that I did this.
Yeah.
So if you do things, if you're a very handy person and your job is very, it's hands-on, you're a contractor, you're in construction, you work in a restaurant, you're in one of these businesses where you're constantly moving things, you're using your hands, you're using your body, then go do something more cerebral, right?
Yeah.
Like go try to figure out how to install something
Yeah.
that would be otherwise a challenge.
Right.
For me, my job is not at all hands driven,
Yeah.
right? It's very cerebral. So having projects like this where it's go and figure out how to touch up the wall and sand it and paint or build something, get furniture, there's a reward that comes from that when you feel like, hey, I actually did this.
And for me, yes, I do understand this feeling, but for me, it's about I don't care what we're doing as long as we're doing something together.
Well, that is fair, but I'd much rather do a million other things with you than like sand and paint.
I really, truly don't care what we end up doing. And in this
Zara
particular
and I
instance,
fixed the water
I know.
heater.
And in this particular instance, I loved it because neither of us was on our phone. We were just chatting through it, and I was proud of myself. And I would say, "Oh, look what I did!" And you would
So
come
we
and
thought. Now we go look. We didn't have much to be
but
proud
I
of.
I think it was a really nice. And
Yeah.
the point of this is, as I'm thinking through this episode, we have had many opportunities to put ourselves to work
Yeah.
together to build something, whether it was whether it was a table or a chair or something in our house or this life. And I feel like we've fallen in love together through that mutual.
I was in love when we got married. I'm not gonna fall. You're not gonna trick me into. Still don't know where you are in the story, but
more in love.
yeah, it's okay. So go punch a hole in the wall, sand it and paint it if you want to find love. You heard it here from Mrs. Rogers. We're never gonna get past this sofa.
No, we are.
So I got a cousin delivered. I got clothing delivered, but we never got a sofa.
We got our sofa.
We got our sofa.
Then we talked about all the shows, the TV shows,
Oh, yeah.
and bonding over those
Yeah,
TV shows.
we would sit and watch the
two of you would drive me crazy
random
with your
shows.
like hyena laughter.
We were also 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
We were like college dorm people, but married,
Yeah.
and our house was the college dorm.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
And it was
none
like you
of
were
us
living
are
with
like
your
a
college
big-
roommate
Yeah.
and your wife.
Yeah, or my girlfriend, right? None of us were into drinking.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would absolutely be a dorm.
Debaucherous.
Like that's what it was. It was. Remember that room he used, and it was like the apartment had a glass door, so we like went and bought a $1 book of construction paper and we like stuck construction paper on all the squares of the glass and be like, here, look, you want privacy? Here, it's $1. I'm not changing the door. I'm not putting a blind. That's like $30 to put blinds.
It had a glass door. And
looked like a tic-tac-toe
It was
board.
framed. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was some like cute little framing that was
Yeah,
done
they're
to
like
make the door
9
look
or
fancy.
12
So
little
we stuck
squares.
construction paper
Yeah.
on all of the.
Yeah, that guy wanted to like buy a roll down shade. He got $30 for you. Here's $1.50 and some tape. You could pick your own pattern.
Even after he left, that stayed there.
'Cause it looked nice actually, with the light that came through.
Not on the other side.
no,
Only
no,
on one
no,
side.
just on our side.
Yeah. Yeah, we really lived like college kids. We played, what's that game with the
Rock band.
rock band?
We played rock. Yeah, we had a singer in the house.
We played
would
rock
crush it.
band. Yeah, we crushed it. We just literally just fell into this pseudo dorm
We're just like, oh, now.
situation.
And then it got easier once the paycheck started coming
Yeah.
in. Then you didn't have to worry so much.
And
I
we
actually
started
could have bought him. I
traveling a
could have bought
little.
him blinds. Now that I'm thinking about
Yeah.
it, instead of giving him the.
He could have bought himself blinds.
That's true. He could have also bought himself blinds.
So the following year, I got my job because I was sick and tired of sitting at home. I got my berries job.
The berries job was year 1.
Yes.
I don't remember that.
Yes, I worked on
That's
this
a whole other
TV
episode,
show.
too.
It's not going to be a whole episode.
How can you not? There's clips. There's a whole DVD that came out.
I know. We talked about this. I was a berry on
Yeah.
this TV show, this children's TV show that never took off. We did 3 pilot episodes, but it never.
And no one picked it up.
No one picked it up.
I bet they'd pick it up now.
Yeah.
You should call those two. Be like, hey, your kids in high school too? Let's go. Put on your raspberry costume and let's meet at the park and sing songs.
Can you
Should be like,
imagine?
I'm running for office now. Be like, that's okay.
The other one, I'm singing on Broadway now.
Yeah. Also okay. Go put your goddamn strawberry costume and I'll meet you at the park.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I should meet up with those girls.
You should ping them.
Yes, I will. So I did that job and I felt very good doing it. I felt very purposeful doing it, but it was very short-lived.
It cost us money for you to do that job.
It did.
So I just want to be clear on how that job worked out. We had to pay all kinds of money to get your visa
Yeah.
so you could actually do
Yeah.
this job.
The visa was more expensive than
Yeah.
the job itself. It's true.
But it would never change it. Like,
Nope.
that was the right move.
Yep.
That was just before Tokyo because we left for Tokyo in the second year after
Yeah.
we moved.
Yep.
So you got a job before Tokyo.
I did.
So that's why you were so confident
In what?
in your working abilities.
In
You
Tokyo?
used to go fight people on your way to daycare.
Okay, we're not going to talk about me
That's
fighting
next.
that Japanese
The
man.
yeah,
You've
yeah.
already
This
told
is-
this story
No,
every
no.
chance you get.
I
you
want a
tell-
whole Japan episode. The Japanese years. That's a
Yes,
whole
the
episode.
Japanese years can be a whole episode.
Or the Japan year, I guess,
Yeah.
is more accurate.
That was really fun. We did a lot of travel. And when I was looking at the pictures, there's a lot of things that we did. We couldn't be with our family. So we have all of these really, really cool moments and memories that are just us.
Yeah.
And I think that's also one of the things that's really special when you're in a new relationship, that you bond over these shared experiences. It's not like we had our college friends that you would hang out with and I had my own college friends that I would meet up with, and we each had our separate lives that we would kind of just come together when the night was over. You had me and I had you, and we had your cousin.
No, not in Japan.
No, not in Japan, but
We had your brother in Japan
our
for a while.
entire first few years of our lives, you had me and I had you, because even when we moved from Montreal
What's
to
that song?
Boston, me and you and me, no matter how we toss the dice. Da, 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 da.
Toss the dice.
I think so.
Are we talking about those dice?
No.
We still have them? This is my new favorite song. Where's the dice from?
I think that's the way the song goes. So happy together. So I think that was a big thing for us. You didn't
That's how that was part of the plan.
have your circle of friends. I didn't have my circle of
Well,
friends.
we moved.
We moved. So we built our circle slowly together.
Who
And-
were our friends when we first moved?
We didn't have a lot of friends. We had each
Like
other.
from work, I guess. But we
They
were all
were not
working
my
so
friends,
hard, so
yeah.
we didn't really we didn't connect so much.
They were acquaintances. We would go out from time to time. There was a couple that maybe we would meet once in a while, but
Your
I don't.
best buddy was the neighbor. Have you seen my popcorn? Remember him?
I do remember.
Somehow,
Once a week,
this guy
he'd
would
be
be
looking for
walking around in his
popcorn.
wife beater looking for popcorn. Like, they would just deliver. If I were the delivery guy and I heard him say, "Hey, have you seen my popcorn?" I would hide his popcorn in all kinds of random places.
I bet you he
in the
was
tree,
doing
this, that. I would do that. I hide it under the car just to watch
he
this
was
guy.
doing that.
He'd literally come out. "Hey, Sheena, have you seen my popcorn?" Like, what does that even mean, man? I don't want to see your popcorns. Put your popcorns in your pants and get the hell out of here. But why? No, it was actually popcorn he was
It
looking
was
for.
actually popcorn.
Yeah. First time he said that, I'm like, what are your popcorns? I'm curious. I'm oddly intrigued. Can I see your popcorns?
No.
No. And he's like, no, I haven't
wanna
seen
see
my
his
popcorns. And I'm like, where are your popcorns? He's like, I don't know. And they're like, you mean actual popcorn? I was so shocked.
Yeah, he meant actual popcorn. He loved
I have
popcorn.
one last story for you
Okay.
about that era.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this as the pre-Japan era. So we've kind of covered our first, call it 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the car.
Mm.
We moved.
Mm-hmm.
And when we moved, we took my parents' car
Mm-hmm.
that was on lease. And the lease had another
6 months.
6
8
months or something on it. And then we would have to take it back and turn it in. So we had 6 months to find a car.
Yeah.
And when I was in school, I guess in university, I always had this thing in my head. Well, I don't even know where it started, but this Infiniti G35 Coupe was a car that I thought was like amazing.
Yeah.
So when we were coming close to the, I don't know, 3-4 month mark of or maybe 6 month mark. We're coming to the 6 month mark, and
It
we
was
had to
definitely
return.
6 months after we moved.
Yeah.
Because you had 6 months of paychecks.
Yeah. That's right. So it was 6 months, and then we had to get a car. And I remember,
And this is 6 months of me now feeling like, okay, now we can go out to dinner once a month.
Yes.
Or we can go
start
out.
doing things.
Yeah.
Remove this construction paper and get blinds for the guest room.
No.
No. So I remember calling you
Yeah.
and saying, hey, I found the car I want to get.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is it? And you like that car too.
did
We're
too.
like,
Yeah,
hey,
it's a great car.
2-door
It was such a fun
rear
little
wheel
yeah.
drive sports car
Yeah.
in the winter. Meanwhile, we both knew how to drive in the snow from Montreal,
Yeah.
so that rear wheel drive didn't bother me. And it was used, found it in some dealership in New Hampshire. And I said, okay, can you drive me to the dealership? Let's go see it. So we drive to the dealership, and the dealership is essentially a lot where people, they have some cars, but also if you want to sell your car, you can leave it on the dealership lot.
Yeah.
And if they successfully sell it for you, they get like some commission.
Yeah.
So I remember going.
You wanted to just go check it out.
I wanted to check it out, but I also had spoken to the seller,
Yes.
and I knew that if this was a good deal, like
Yes.
if this car looked the way it was supposed to look,
Yeah.
I wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
So we get there, we see the car, we drive it, we both like it. It's in pristine condition.
Yeah.
And the seller says to me, we have a deal.
Yeah.
So we had to go to someone's house.
We did?
Yeah.
Did I go?
Yeah. So Sheena left. I'm like, okay, you leave.
Afterwards.
Yeah,
There was like
after.
a birthday party or
Yes.
something, and we were late.
That's right. So I told Sheena, you go.
Yeah.
Let me just finish signing the paperwork, and I will come in this car.
Yeah, our friend was having like his
It was
some
something, yeah.
birthday party.
And Sheena says, great. So she leaves New Hampshire. I'm with this guy.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the paperwork.
Yeah.
He comes back into the room and says, this is crazy, but somebody else just called me
Yeah.
for my car,
Yeah.
and they're offering me $1,000 more. What do you think about that? And the dealer was there, like the guy who owned the lot, and he's watching. And he's like, oh my God, this guy's wife left. He's waiting to sign this
Left
paper.
to go back to another state.
Yeah. And I stood up and I said, thank you very much. I'm not buying your car. Good luck. I'm going to call my wife. I'm leaving. He goes, no. We had a deal. I'm just telling you. And I said, no, I don't play these games.
Yeah.
We had a deal.
Yeah.
You gave me your word. I don't care if he's offering you double,
Yeah.
but I'm not buying this car.
Right.
If
you're trying to play
I'm
me
not
for an
giving you
extra
a
$1,000.
penny. I'm not giving you a penny more, and I'm in two minds to reduce my offer for this stunt.
Yeah.
And the dealer is looking on like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And the guy says to me, look, he's on his way here. And the reason he was selling his car, this, black sports car, was because he got his girlfriend pregnant.
Yeah.
And they were getting married, and they needed a larger car.
And the
Because
ability
there's
to
no
put a car
chance
seat.
you could use this car for
Well, we did
yeah,
use
we
it.
did. But you don't have a
Yeah,
proper plan there.
Absolutely.
So he said, look, man, the money's important. I hate to do this. We didn't sign anything, blah, blah, blah. And the dealer came over and he said, how are you paying for this car? And I said, cash. Like, I'm going to write a check. I don't need financing. And he looked at him and he said, do you know if this other guy is willing to pay, or if he's going to tell you he needs financing or something? And the seller said, I don't know. And he said, okay, your decision.
Meanwhile,
And-
I've reached the party. I'm texting
No.
or
You're in the
calling
car
you
because
to-
it's half an hour. I was just half an hour behind you, but I'm now telling him, look, if I hit send, if I
Yeah.
make my wife turn around, it's
Yeah.
done.
But I
You're
remember
out.
when I had gotten to the party, you hadn't picked up my calls. When I was driving back home, I think I called you to check in. You didn't pick up that call. I texted you a few times. You were busy.
Yeah.
But I was panicked that something was happening, but I had no way of
Yeah.
knowing what was going on.
So he ultimately wastes on it like almost 45 minutes of
yeah.
time, and then says, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I said, if this guy shows up Like if somebody shows up, I'm not buying this car.
Yeah.
So you have until you should call them and kill this. But
Yeah.
if anyone walks in that door, I'm out. Anyone else, I'm either leaving in that car. If anyone else gets in that car and it's not me, I don't want it.
Yeah.
So I'm like putting the pressure on now
Yeah.
too. And the dealer's like watching this saying like, yo, you're an idiot
Yeah.
if you let this guy with cash walk out.
Yeah.
So he finally picks up the phone, calls the other guy who knows if there's some actual person or
Or some
BS. And he
stunt.
says, hey, don't come. I already made a deal.
Yeah.
So then I pull out my checkbook.
Yeah.
And this guy says, I thought you're paying cash. I'm like, do you see a Samsonite briefcase beside me? Like, do I look cuffed to something? You want me to pull out, like, I don't know, it was like, I don't know, call it $20,000. You want me to pull out $20,000 from my socks? Like, where am I going to bring cash from? And I pulled out a check, and the guy's like, I don't know if your check is good.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, let's go to the bank, and they'll tell you the check is good.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you and I both know that check was just good. Because
good
we had
enough.
talked about this and it was like, hey, use only credit cards. Do not use debit for the next 5 days until the next paycheck direct deposits because
true.
it's going to cause a problem.
It's true. I remember you telling me that. Please just take your
Yeah.
debit card out of your wallet and don't even look at it for the next
Yeah.
2 weeks.
So this guy, we try to go to a bank,
Yeah.
but it's already past 3:00 or whatever.
Yeah.
So he didn't give me the title.
Yeah.
So I essentially,
Gave him a check.
I gave him a check. He gave the title to the dealer.
Yeah.
I gave him the check.
Yeah.
I took the car
Yeah.
and I left with the car that belonged to somebody else.
Yes.
And told the dealer essentially, we said, hey, next week or on Monday when
Yeah.
he goes to the bank to cash this check,
Yeah.
you then mail this to me.
Yeah.
And the dealer's like, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen. You guys have watched too many movies. This idiot tried to shake the other idiot down. The other idiot thought he could just leave with a car
Yeah.
with no title.
Yeah.
So I left with some stranger's car. I gave him
no
a check,
title.
no title.
And you just hoped that everybody was
I
honest.
I hoped it would work. And if it didn't work, I'm like, hey, look, I still have the car. You can come to Boston to get it.
Yeah.
So that's how we bought our first car.
Yeah.
That was a good story.
That was a very good story.
And then,
And it's a story that we have literally looked back at over the years and learned lessons from
Yeah.
and laughed
next
about.
time I buy a vehicle, I'm taking a briefcase of cash. That's the easiest way to do it.
Nope.
Buy a vehicle with gold coins.
No.
Here you go. Here are 3 gold coins. Here's my USB stick with 4 Bitcoins.
Bitcoin.
And here, no, that's a lot actually.
Yeah.
That's actually too much for a car.
1 Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think Bitcoin's like,
Crazy now.
yeah, it's over 50,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You have like 800,000 Bitcoins, no?
I do?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what the internet
Yeah,
says I
the
have.
internet says you have 2 billion Bitcoins.
No, just like 200.
Okay.
I think that's it. I think that's the story. We had our car and we were 2 little
So
college
yeah,
kids.
2 college kids with 2
with
cars.
no college.
And then we returned 1 car.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had our sports car
Yeah.
for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Oh, until we sold our car because you decided to pour 2 gallons of vinegar in the back.
You did.
No.
Oh, no, I did
You
that.
did that. You called me in a panic saying the car stinks.
I didn't do it on purpose.
No, you just went to Costco, threw a gallon of,
Who
who
makes
just
a
lets it
gallon
roll
like
around in
this
the back?
of vinegar and doesn't have it sealed?
No, it was sealed. It
It
just
was
broke.
not sealed. Like
don't
it
know.
was not well sealed.
I don't know. You opened it to take a swig of vinegar
No, I
and then you
didn't.
threw it in the
It
back.
was just not well sealed. It was bad.
Man, so we got rid of the car because it became vinegar.
That's not true.
What
We
did we
kept
do
the
with that
car
car?
until after Jay was born.
That's right. Oh, I traded it in for the
Jeep.
The Jeep.
We
which
had that
now I
car for a
just
long
now I
time.
got rid of. Well, we got other cars and we kept it as like a showpiece, a lawn ornament in the winters.
You
And
used
we
to drive
I
it.
drove it around in the summers more.
Yeah. So that's
That's
part
the first 2
2.
years.
That's part 2.
Love story part 2. There'll be many parts. I like this.
I
We
do
can't
too.
get past.
It's nice to reminisce.
Yeah, you forget these stories.
Yeah.
The vinegar story.
And I was looking at this book, and it's just such a sweet little memory. It's such a nice. Look at this. This is where there is love, there is life.
Oh,
So nice.
that's sweet. Is
Yeah.
that? Look at the ring ceremony, so the YouTube people can see this.
Yeah.
That's page 1.
Page 1.
Okay,
That's-
so every episode to 1 page.
No. As I was looking through this, I was just thinking, like, you forget these things I haven't taken the time to make another one of these, but I think I should. All of these pictures keep coming back to is how we've enjoyed just simple moments.
That's life.
Yeah. Like carving a pumpkin.
Yeah. You do so much in like
And like being on a trampoline. Like for our first anniversary, we went jumping on a trampoline.
trampoline. I don't know. You want to do some weird stuff.
I did. I loved it. We've had a really, really full journey so far.
So far.
Yeah.
And people have seen a lot of the journey stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
But these things are really cool too.
Yep, they are. All right.
No songs today.
Tell me a song. Pick a song.
You have to pick
You
the
have to
song.
pick a song today.
What about something by Shania Twain?
You've got a way with me. Somehow you got me to believe in everything that I could be. I've got to say that you really got a way. Mm-hmm.